Football is a violent sport, which is what makes evaluating players still in high school so difficult. With how prevalent injuries are at all levels, it's tough to predict who will actually make it to the NFL. That's what makes things like the USA Today All-USA High School Football Team so intriguing. These young men were among the best of the best, but many of them never found NFL greatness. Today, we're taking a look back at the 2006 USA Today All-USA team and seeing what happened. And I don't usually say this, but there are several unfortunate stories in this class. I'll have a specific content warning for one entry in particular, but this one gets heavy in a few places. That being said, before diving into the first team, here are a few highlights from the second team. Ryan Mallett, quarterback. Mallett was born in Arkansas, where his dad was coaching high school football. By the time he was playing high school ball, Mallett had moved to Texas. There, he became the fourth highest ranked player in the nation before signing to play at Michigan. When starter Chad Henne went down early in the year, Mallett stepped in to start a few games and played pretty well. However, Rich Rodriguez was hired as the head coach ahead of Mallett's sophomore season, and the young signal caller decided to transfer to a team that ran an offense suited to his drop-back passing ability. Mallett settled on Arkansas. After sitting out a season, he quickly took over as the starting QB in 2009. He threw for 3,624 yards and 30 TDs. Mallett was even better in 2010, leading the SEC in most passing stats, while leading the Razorbacks to a 10-3 record and finishing in 7th for Heisman voting. He decided to forego his final year of eligibility and enter the draft. Some saw him as a potential first-round pick, but Mallett fell to the 3rd round where the Patriots picked him up. He backed up Tom Brady for 3 seasons before being traded to Houston in 2014. He started 2 games that season before a torn pec knocked him out for the rest of the season. He came back to start 4 games the next year before being traded to Baltimore. Mallett then spent a few years as a backup for the Ravens before leaving the league behind in 2017. He eventually became a high school coach in Arkansas, but sadly passed away in 2023 at just 35 years old. Michael Floyd, wide receiver. I'll be talking about Floyd much more in depth in the 2007 version of this list, because he made the first team that year as a high school senior. The short version is that he went to Notre Dame for college and quickly became a star. The Cardinals then picked him 13th overall in the 2012 draft. His NFL career wasn't as prolific, but he did have a 1,000-yard season in 2013 and won a title with the Patriots in 2016. He retired in 2019 and is working in real estate back in the Twin Cities. Bryan Bulaga, offensive line. The Big OT signed to play college ball at Iowa. He became a starter midway through his true freshman season and was named a second-team All-Big Ten player in 2008. The next year, he was named the Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year and a first-team All-American, despite missing a few games with a thyroid disease. The Packers picked him 23rd overall in the 2010 draft. He spent 10 seasons with the team, though he missed the entire 2013 season with an injury. He started on the line when Green Bay won a Super Bowl in 2010, becoming the youngest player to start in the big game. He signed with the Chargers in 2020, playing there for 2 years before retiring in 2023. As of 2025, he's mostly enjoying his retirement, though he does do quite a bit of media work. Marcus Gilchrist, defensive back. Gilchrist became a stud safety at Clemson, putting up impressive numbers at the combine to further improve his draft stock. The Chargers picked him in the 2nd round of the 2011 draft. He carved out a solid 10-year career in the NFL, spending his first 4 years in San Diego and then jumping around the league. He retired after spending the 2020 season with the Ravens. He's mostly been out of the public eye since. Golden Tate, athlete. Tate did just about everything in high school, but became a full-time wide receiver at Notre Dame. Over 3 years, Tate put up 2,707 yards and 26 touchdowns, winning the Biletnikoff in 2009. He skipped his senior season to enter the 2010 draft. The Seahawks picked him in the 2nd round. In 4 years in Seattle, Tate put up solid stats and helped the team win a title in 2013. After the season, he signed a 5-year deal with Detroit and had his best season in 2014, catching 99 passes for 1,331 yards and 4 scores to make his only Pro Bowl. Tate continued to play solid football through the 2020 season, posting 2 more 1,000-yard seasons, but never making it back to the Pro Bowl. He spent the 2021 season on the Titans practice squad and retired in 2022. Tate had also been a great baseball player in high school, even playing for Notre Dame for 2 seasons before concentrating on football. After retiring from the NFL, Tate signed with the Port Angeles Lefties in the West Coast League and briefly appeared as a center fielder. In 2025, he took part in Season 3 of the reality show Special Forces World's Toughest Test, alongside Cam Newton, Landon Donovan, and Marion Jones, among several celebrities. And that's just a selection of the second team guys, but let's get to the good stuff and jump to the first team offense. Jimmy Clausen, quarterback. Both of Clausen's older brothers played quarterback at Tennessee, so it wasn't a huge surprise that he became a solid player himself. That said, the hype around Clausen in college was through the roof, especially when he committed to play college football at Notre Dame. He took over as the starter in the second game of his true freshman season, but struggled to stay consistent and was replaced by Evan Sharpley. To be fair to Clausen, he had been sacked quite a bit and was forced to sit out a few games dealing with an injury. That said, his true freshman season didn't exactly light the world on fire. Clausen played better over the next 2 years, but never became a Heisman winner or won a national title like some assumed he would. Still, he threw for 3,722 yards and 28 TDs to just 4 INTs in 2009. Which helped him decide to skip his senior season and enter the 2010 draft. Some, famously including Mel Kiper, thought he might be a top 10 pick, but Clausen fell to the second round where the Panthers picked him up. He went 1-9 as a starter during his rookie season, throwing just 3 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Carolina picked Cam Newton first overall in 2011 and never looked back. Clausen spent most of the rest of his career as a backup, getting just 4 more starts over the next few years with the Bears and Ravens. He retired after the 2015 season and worked as a broadcaster for about a year before getting into a career as an investor and real estate developer. Marc Tyler, running back. Tyler's dad, Wendell, played running back at UCLA before becoming a 1-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion with the Rams and 49ers. The younger Tyler decided to sign with USC, but broke his leg while playing high school ball at the same school as Clausen. He took a redshirt season in 2007 and played sparingly in 2008. Tyler missed all but 1 game in 2009, but had a solid end to his career, racking up 1,500 yards and 13 TDs during his junior and senior seasons combined. Partially due to his injury history, Tyler was not selected in the 2012 draft, but did spend some time on the Packers practice squad. As of 2025, he's working as a coach at the youth level and raising his young family. Noel Devine, running back. Both of Devine's parents died from AIDS complications before he turned 12. He eventually moved in with his friend's parents. By his junior year of high school, he'd already had 2 children and had seen one of his friends shot and killed. Fortunately, Deion Sanders, who also graduated from North Fort Myers, took Devine under his wing, helping him prepare his letter of intent and, at one point, almost becoming his legal guardian. Devine signed with West Virginia for college ball. He had an impressive freshman year, rushing for 627 yards and 6 TDs on limited touches behind Steve Slayton, while posting a yards per carry of 8.6. Devine almost transferred after coach Rich Rodriguez left, but decided to stick with the Mountaineers. With Slayton off to the NFL, Devine had an increased role, running for 1,289 yards and 4 scores. He bumped that up to 1,465 yards and 13 TDs as a junior, making the first team All-Big East roster. Devine originally announced he was going to enter the 2010 draft, but pulled his name and went back to school. Many thought he had a chance to make a run at the Heisman, but he picked up several injuries throughout the year, limiting him to only 934 yards and 6 scores. Unfortunately, those injuries and his small stature made it unlikely he'd go very high in the 2011 draft. Ultimately, he was not selected. Devine spent some time with the Eagles in training camp, but never played in the NFL. He spent a few years playing in the CFL and various other leagues before hanging up his cleats in 2017. As of 2025, he's working as an offensive analyst and assistant running backs coach at West Virginia. His son Andre is a freshman running back at West Virginia. His daughter Desiree plays softball for Wofford. Arrelious Benn, wide receiver. Benn decided to play college ball at Illinois. As a freshman, he set school records with 54 catches for 676 yards. The next year, Benn led the Big Ten with 1,055 yards on 67 catches. Unfortunately, he hurt his knee in the 2009 season opener. He still played in every game, but wasn't able to build on his sophomore season. Benn decided to jump into the 2010 draft. The Bucs picked him in the second round. During his 3 seasons in Tampa Bay, Benn was mostly in the rotation, catching 59 passes for 862 yards. He did miss a large chunk of the 2012 season, which led to a trade to the Eagles. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL and missed the 2013 and 2014 seasons. Benn eventually signed with the Jags in 2015. He played for 2 more years, catching 6 passes for 128 yards and 1 score before retiring in 2017. Benn's mostly been out of the public eye since, though he does work with a literacy foundation and opened a coffee shop in 2020. AJ Green, wide receiver. Green made this roster as a junior, but didn't make the 07 list, which is a rarity for USA Today. The big wideout committed to Georgia. As a freshman, he led the SEC with 963 yards and 8 TDs on just 56 catches, winning the SEC Freshman of the Year. He was an All-American the next 2 years, despite missing some time with injury. Over 3 seasons, he caught 166 passes for 2,619 yards and 23 TDs. Green skipped his senior season, and the Bengals picked him 4th overall in the 2011 draft. He came out of the gate on fire, catching 67 passes for 1,057 yards and 7 TDs to make the Pro Bowl as a rookie. Green started his career with 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons and 7 straight Pro Bowls, and that latter streak probably would have been extended into 2018 at least, but Green missed significant time with a toe injury that year, limiting him to just 9 games. He then tore a few ligaments in his ankle and missed the entire 2019 season. Green came back to Cincy in 2020, but wasn't his usual self. After the season, he signed with the Cardinals. He spent 2 years in Arizona and retired in 2023 after signing a 1-day contract with the Bengals. As of 2025, Green sits behind only Chad Johnson in most all-time stats for the Bengals and has career numbers of 727 catches for 10,514 yards and 70 TDs. These days, he seems to be enjoying his retirement while raising his kids. Before we start with the next one, a quick content warning for abuse, murder, and suicide. If you want to skip this one, check the timecodes below. Aaron Hernandez, tight end. Hernandez grew up in an abusive household, with his father often beating him, his brother, and his mother. Still, the young man took the death of his father incredibly hard when he passed away during Hernandez's high school days. He turned to sports and excelled at nearly everything. That said, football was his best sport, and he initially committed to UConn to play alongside his brother. However, he switched to Florida to play under Urban Meyer. He struggled with school, but played well, putting up 111 catches for 1,382 yards and 12 scores over his 3-year career. He also helped the Gators win the 2008 title and picked up the John Mackey and Ozzie Newsome Awards in 2009. Hernandez skipped his senior season, and the Patriots picked him in the 4th round, the same year they drafted Rob Gronkowski. Hernandez worked his way into the starting lineup for 7 games during his rookie season. From there, until the end of his career in 2012, Hernandez was in the starting lineup when healthy, racking up 175 catches for 1,956 yards and 18 TDs over 3 years. Throughout his life, Hernandez had several off-field incidents and run-ins with the police. It all came to a head in 2013 when he was charged with first-degree murder. I'm not going to go over all the details here because, to be frank, there's quite a bit, and other people have told the story better than I would in this video. If you want to learn the entire story, it's all out there. The long and short of it is that he was found guilty in 2015 and sentenced to life in prison. 2 years later, he was found dead in his prison cell, which was ruled a suicide. He was 27 years old, and a scan of his brain reportedly revealed one of the worst cases of CTE the investigators had ever seen. Chris Little, offensive line. Little was originally going to attend Florida State and then Notre Dame before settling on Georgia on signing day. He redshirted during his freshman season and broke his foot prior to 2008. Little decided to transfer and spend a year in community college. It looks like he attempted to play at Southern, but couldn't get academically eligible. He's mostly been out of the public eye since, but I think I found his social media, and if that is him, it appears that he's working a normal job back in Georgia. Ryan Miller, offensive line. Miller decided to stay in-state and play for Colorado. As a true freshman, he started 7 games, becoming the first true freshman to play at offensive tackle for the Buffs since 1990. He was again a starter to begin his sophomore year, but broke his fibula after 4 games. He came back and played well, becoming a second-team All-American in 2011. The Browns picked Miller in the 5th round of the 2012 draft. He sustained an injury during training camp, but came back and played in 8 games as a rookie. Miller then spent the next few years jumping around the league, but injuries kept him from ever seeing the field again. He was out of the league by 2015. As of 2025, he's working as a firearm instructor and in private security. Miller also calls himself a tactical athlete and has appeared in several shooting competitions since hanging up his cleats. Anthony Davis, offensive line. Davis was listed as the top offensive tackle in this class by Rivals and chose to sign with Rutgers for college ball. He made the freshman All-American team as a guard before switching to tackle in 2008. He made back-to-back All-Big East teams and was named a second-team All-American in 2009. He jumped into the 2010 draft and the 49ers picked him 11th overall. Davis was a day 1 starter at right tackle, holding down that position for 5 years outside of injuries. In 2015, he retired, saying he wanted to take a break and come back as the best right tackle in football. In 2016, he filed for reinstatement and played in 1 game before retiring again. 3 years later, he applied to come out of retirement again, but the 49ers released him a few weeks after, and he's never played again. As of 2025, he's raising his young family and enjoying retirement. Trey Allen, offensive line. Allen was the top guard in this class per ESPN and appeared in 9 games as a true freshman for Texas. Unfortunately, injuries kept holding back his development. He never became the star many expected, but did play in 44 total games and earned his degree in 2011. Allen has since gone on to become a high school football coach in his home state. Lee Ziemba, offensive line. Ziemba was born in Georgia, but played high school ball in Arkansas. He signed with Auburn for college ball and started every game during his 4 years on campus. The Big OT was a freshman All-American in 2007, a consensus All-American in 2010, and helped the Tigers win a title as a senior. The Panthers picked him in the 7th round of the 2011 draft. He played in 6 games as a rookie, but picked up an injury ahead of his second season and was waived. The Colts picked him up, and Ziemba played on their practice squad for 2 seasons before retiring. Soon after, he started a career in sales, where he continues to work as of 2025. Jimmy Stevens, kicker. Stevens signed with OU for college ball. He took a red shirt in 07 and spent the next 3 years as the Sooners' main kicker when healthy, leading the nation in extra points made and attempted in 08. However, Stevens did pick up several injuries over the years and only played in 2 games as a senior in 2011. He did not play professionally and seems to be working in oil and gas as of 2025. And now for the defense. Marvin Austin, defensive line. The USA Today Defensive Player of the Year decided to play college ball at North Carolina. He played in all 12 games as a true freshman, making the freshman All-American roster. Austin continued to improve, becoming a second-team All-ACC player during his junior season. He was seen as a potential top 10 draft pick heading into his senior season, but Austin was one of 14 UNC players suspended for receiving improper benefits. The whole scandal was kicked off with Austin tweeting about popping bottles in a Miami nightclub. He did not play at all that season, but did play in the 2011 East-West Shrine game. Still, there were character and health concerns, so Austin fell to the Giants in the second round of the 2011 draft. He tore his pec during a preseason game and missed the season. He played sparingly over the next few years, moving from the Giants, the Dolphins, and then the Cowboys. In 2014, he signed with the Broncos and had the best season of his career, playing in 15 games and racking up 12 tackles. These days, he's mostly out of the public eye, only really popping up when people remember his infamous Club LIV tweet. Martez Wilson, defensive line. Wilson was classmates with Derrick Rose in high school. Unlike the future NBA MVP, Wilson decided to stay in-state and play college football at the University of Illinois. He played in every game as a true freshman, making the freshman All-American honorable mention list. The next year, he upped his game, racking up 73 tackles and 3 sacks as a strong side linebacker. Unfortunately, Wilson suffered a herniated disc during the first game and missed the rest of the year. He came back to play well in 2010 before making the switch to middle linebacker as a senior, putting up 112 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. The Saints picked him in the 3rd round of the 2011 draft. He was a rotation player for 2 seasons in New Orleans. However, the Saints cut him in 2013 to make room for a backup QB. He signed with the Raiders soon after, but was cut after 3 games. Wilson then joined the Cowboys for the last 5 games of the season, playing in 2 of them. He converted to defensive end during the 2014 training camp, but was cut before the season. Wilson then signed to play in the CFL, but injured his neck in his debut, and his playing career was over after that. He then started working in private jet sales for several years, before getting into real estate and investment management. Joseph Barksdale, defensive line. Here's a fun one. Barksdale signed with LSU out of high school as a defensive tackle. However, he switched to the offensive side of the ball during fall camp and played in 14 games as a true freshman. The next year, he took over as the starter and grew into a second-team All-SEC player by 2010 while helping the Tigers to a national championship in 08. The Raiders picked him in the 3rd round of the 2011 draft. He played in 16 games that season, but was cut in 2012. He then signed with the Rams, where he played sparingly, before taking over as the starter from 2013 to 2014. He signed with the Chargers in 2015, and started for them when healthy through the 2017 season. Barksdale entered the 2018 season as the starter, but knee injuries limited him to just 6 games and 1 start. He was cut after week 13 and signed with the Cardinals, where he started 4 more games. Throughout his career, Barksdale had also taken up playing blues guitar. He decided to retire after the 2018 season and pursue a full-time career as a musician. He released an album that year and has continued to put out music while becoming a mental health advocate. Everson Griffen, defensive line. Interestingly, Griffen graduated from the same high school as Minnesota Vikings Hall of Famer Randall McDaniel. but that's getting ahead of his story just a little bit. Griffen went to USC for college ball. He was the Pac-10 Defensive Freshman of the Year during his first season, and was used as a pass rush specialist and spot starter during his first 2 years. As a junior, he took over as the starter and racked up 9.5 tackles for loss and 8 sacks to make the second team All-Pac-10 roster. Griffen decided to skip his senior season, and after an impressive combine, the Vikings picked him in the 4th round of the 2010 draft. As a rookie, Griffen was arrested twice, once for public intoxication and the second time after he was caught driving with an invalid driver's license. After the second arrest, he tried to flee on foot and was tased. Thankfully, he got back on track and was a solid rotation player for Minnesota through his first 4 seasons, backing up guys like Jared Allen and Brian Robinson. In 2014, he became the starter and showed out with 12 sacks. He made the Pro Bowl roster in each of the next 3 years, consistently ranking as one of the top defensive ends in the league. Unfortunately, Griffen's mental health took a turn in 2018, and he missed 5 games while being evaluated. He came back in 2019 to make his 4th Pro Bowl, but decided to opt out of his contract and sign with the Cowboys in 2020. After 7 games, he was traded to the Lions, where he finished the season. Griffen then re-signed with the Vikings for the 2021 season. He missed 1 game after picking up a concussion in a car crash that happened when he was avoiding a deer, and was placed on the non-football illness list toward the end of the season after a concerning situation where he believed intruders were trying to get into his home. A few days later, Griffen revealed that he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He did not return to football after the season. Sadly, Griffen was arrested a few more times, getting DWIs in 2023 and 2024, while also picking up a charge for cocaine possession during the latter arrest. Thankfully, he seems to be doing much better as of 2025. Earlier this year, he participated in a 400-mile walk to benefit mental health awareness. Chris Galippo, linebacker. Galippo joined Griffen at USC. He played in the first 3 games on special teams, but then took a medical redshirt to have back surgery. He came back to play solid football over the next 4 years, never becoming a star, but consistently making his way into the Trojans linebacker rotation. Over his career, he racked up 166 tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss, and 6 interceptions. He made the 3rd team All-Pac-10 team in 2009, but was not selected in the 2012 draft. He did a short stint with the Colts for training camp before leaving his playing days behind. He did some announcing work at the high school level before getting into coaching at the youth level and working as an associate planner in Southern California. Chris Donald, linebacker. Donald signed with Tennessee for college, where big things were expected from the 5-star linebacker. He took a redshirt in 2007 and appeared in 2 games in 2008. The next year, he did play in 8 games, but was mostly used on special teams. After a disappointing run with the Vols, Donald transferred to Chattanooga to finish out his collegiate career. It doesn't look like he played professionally, but he is working as a defensive coordinator at the high school level as of 2025. Keenan Robinson, linebacker. Robinson was born in Nebraska, but played high school ball in Texas. The 4-star linebacker was also a track star and decided to sign with Texas for college ball. He spent 5 years with the Longhorns and was a 2-time Butkus Award semifinalist. He made the 2nd team All-Big 12 roster in 2010 and 2011. Washington picked him in the 4th round of the 2012 draft. He moved from outside linebacker to the inside and appeared in 11 games before tearing his pec. Robinson tore it again during the first day of training camp in 2013 and missed the entire season. He came back in 2014 and became the starter after London Fletcher retired. Over 2 years, Robinson totaled 172 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. In 2016, Robinson signed with the Giants, where he spent 2 seasons before a quad injury knocked him out of the back half of the 2017 season. He signed with the Bills in 2018, but announced his retirement a month later. As of 2025, he seems to be enjoying retirement while raising his young family. Eugene Clifford, defensive back. Clifford signed with Ohio State and played in 4 games as a true freshman. However, he was suspended toward the end of the season for violating team rules. Then, Clifford was charged with misdemeanor assault after he was accused of punching 2 employees at a sports bar. He then transferred to Tennessee State. Over 2 years, he racked up 121 tackles and 5 picks. Clifford was not selected in the 2011 draft, but did sign with the Ravens for training camp. He did not make the final roster and played some indoor football in 2013 before hanging him up. Clifford has fallen out of the public eye in the years since. Major Wright, defensive back. Wright played under Urban Meyer at Florida for college. As a freshman, he started 7 games at free safety, posting 67 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 interception to make the freshman All-American roster. He started all 14 games in 2008, helping the team win the BCS National Championship. Wright's junior season wasn't quite as successful, but he remained solid. The Bears picked him in the 3rd round of the 2010 draft. He was a backup as a rookie, but became Chicago's starting strong safety in 2021. He held that position for 3 years with the Bears before signing with the Bucs in 2014. Wright spent 3 years in Tampa Bay before injuries started to hurt his ability to be available. He was finished with football after the 2016 season. Over 7 years, Wright racked up 331 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 9 interceptions, and 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns. In 2020, Wright announced his first book and opened a publishing company. He continues to write and works as a community organizer back in his hometown. Greg Little, defensive back. Little made this list as a DB, but when he joined Marvin Austin at North Carolina, he played wide receiver and running back. As a freshman, he ran for 300 yards and 2 scores, adding 99 yards and 1 TD through the air. He also played in 10 games for UNC's basketball team, averaging 1.5 points a game. The next year, Little ran for 339 yards and 3 scores with 146 yards as a pass catcher. He had his breakout season in 2009 when he took a larger role in the passing game. That year, Little ran for 166 yards and 1 score, but caught 62 passes for 725 yards and 5 touchdowns. Many thought he'd be even better as a senior, but he was also part of the group of Tar Heel players who were suspended in 2010 for improper benefits. Still, the Browns picked him in the 2nd round of the 2011 draft. As a rookie, he led the team with 61 catches for 709 yards and 2 scores. Little had flashes over the next 2 seasons, but was inconsistent and caused some off-field problems, so the Browns cut him in 2014. The Raiders claimed him off waivers, but cut him before the season. He signed with the Bengals and played in 6 games. Little then bounced around training camps for a few years, but never played another down. Like Austin, he's mostly stayed out of the public eye since his career ended, only popping up when Tar Heel fans remember the 2010 scandal. Joe McKnight, defensive back. Like many in Louisiana at the time, McKnight had a complicated high school career while dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. During his junior season, he played 2 games for ECA while separated from his mother, but then moved back to River Ridge where he starred for John Curtis. Despite the constant moving and having to live in a 1-bedroom apartment after his family's home was destroyed, McKnight was named the Co-Player of the Year by Parade alongside Jimmy Clausen. He ended up signing with USC, but that brought some controversy when he said that former USC running back Reggie Bush had spoken to him during his recruitment process. Nothing really came from the investigation, and McKnight arrived on campus full of hype. He made this list as a DB, but played running back for the Trojans, with many calling him the, quote, next Reggie Bush. As a freshman, he ran for 540 yards and 3 scores. He had another solid sophomore season, but was hampered by injuries and fumbling problems. McKnight came back as a junior and had his best season, running for 1,014 yards and 8 scores. And those are solid numbers, but it's fair to say that he didn't live up to the admittedly ridiculous hype. The Jets picked him in the 4th round of the 2010 draft. He struggled with fumbling and conditioning during camp, but made the team and eventually got on the field for 9 games, rushing for 189 yards. He continued to be in the rotation in a limited capacity for the next 2 years, totaling 502 yards on the ground and 177 yards as a pass catcher during his 3 years in New York. The Jets released him in 2013, and McKnight spent the season out of football. He signed with the Chiefs in 2014 and played in 2 games, scoring 2 touchdowns as a receiver in a September game against Miami. However, he tore his Achilles tendon a few days later and missed the rest of the season. McKnight spent the 2016 season in the CFL and was under contract with the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the 2017 season. Sadly, McKnight was shot and killed in what was described as a road rage shooting in December 2016. He was 28 years old. Bryan Anger, punter. Anger played college ball at Cal. After taking a redshirt season, the punter made the second team All-Pac-10 roster in 2008. He then made the next 3 first-team All-Pac-10 rosters. The Jags picked him in the 3rd round of the 2012 draft, making him the highest punter drafted since Todd Sauerbrunn was chosen 56th overall in 1995. Anger punted for the Jazz through the 2015 season, even leading the league in punting yardage in 2013. He signed with the Bucs in 2016 and punted there for 3 seasons. Anger then signed with Houston for 2 years in 2019. In 2021, he joined the Cowboys. Anger made his first Pro Bowl and All-Pro teams in 2021. He made both rosters again in 2023 and is still playing for the Cowboys as of 2025. And that wraps up the 2006 class of All USA players. I'll be back in a few weeks with the 07 squad, but for now, why don't you check out this list of the 2005 players.